Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between, welcome to the grand final of LEGO Wars Series 5. After 70 robots took to the arena, only 8 remain, and I won't lie, a few of them have caught me off guard with their deep runs. Nevertheless, they've all earned their place in the grand final, so let's see how these robots got on the road to Armageddon. We started Heat A with the biggest shock you could get as the defending champs Tantrum barely got out the gates as chain snapping and aggressive thermal damaged their charge as bottom seeds Sweepy and rookie Sir Lancerfrog took the direct bracket spots. The second heat saw Orby and Emulator clean house as they smashed the doors off of Barn before Orby's battery called it quits in their head-to-head while P1 failed to progress to the bracket for the first time. In Heat C, Bolts attempted to steal the show as they upset Pegasus in the first fight before they returned to spinning down the pit while Ripperoni finally woke up, giving Bowser a splitting headache and Pegasus more flipper troubles. Dietor was the robot of the moment in Heat D as they brushed aside Thwack and Waddledee, only missing out on a perfect score due to the fight timer while Wilbert failed to show up as they ground to a halt, leaving a path to the bracket clear for Plunderbird. We had a surprise in store for Heat E as the rookies took over the arena and all 5 gave an excellent account of themselves between the disc eating and the friendly fire as the twins ended the night undefeated. Heat F saw another seed falter as Agro-Orbit only just scraped through the charge of eventual grand finalist Ganymede, but Scarlet Serpent would derail their charge before another finalist Duck ended the Series 3 champs run by stranding them on their own face. The Year of Shadow wrapped up the first half of the heats as Project Shadow dished out the damage on Whiplash and Harold, but it would be the latter's controversial JD over the first World Champs Panic that left them on the outside. Also, the Ice Climbers are completely insane. The second half of the heats began with Hypnodisc sort of spinning to win as they saw off a drunken Bishop while Quantum proved too much for the heat with their impressive control and yet still Bricker out of nowhere swept home the victory at the death. The Battlebots heat landed in Heat I this time round as Petunia brought home another heat win while Slammo showed potential with their Copperhead flip and the Temp Seeds Monsoon swapped out ejecting their chain for ejecting their dry pod. We had a second heat of specials in Heat J as the external machines took centre stage as veterans Hospitaller and Megalodon put on their best displays yet while Beta Steel was wondering what could have been as they remained stuck to Cerulatis on the pit. There was more upsets in store in Heat K as both Switchback and Catanamoidia stumbled out of the competition while Brick Astley, Flashover and Megalovania had to scrap in a sudden death rumble where the latter somehow survived to win. It was almost a speedrun episode in Heat L as the majority of the fights ended in under 90 seconds as the rookies Disgruntled Guardian upset the 6 seeds 23 Red to win the heat, but the latter would show their destructive best as they sank fellow seeds Scorpios. Another big scalp fell in the penultimate heat as 4th seed Shatterstar had an absolute mare at the hands of Muffin while Thumper and Mr. Waffle showed their destructive strengths to make the bracket. The final heat of Series 5 was a more generic affair as both former grand finalists Atlas and Kraken dominated the heat despite the best efforts of Polymorph to wreak chaos upon every opponent they faced, including the recording crew. The play-ins were where our beleaguered champions Tantrum ended their title defense to a resurgent Waddledee and fellow champion Wildcard Panic fell in another close JD to book in their campaign as Flashover and Chompy fixed the errors of their heat to complete the bracket. The round of 32 kicked off with one of the best moments of the series as Slammo finally suplexed an opponent while Pegasus focused on playing snooker with the twins, and all 4 of our play-in winners displaced the highest ranked machines to wreak havoc on bracket predictions. And finally, last time out, the last series champ standing Waddledee fell as Megalodon shut down their weapon, but our 3rd and 6th seeds Orby and 23 Red delivered their most destructive displays to continue their collision course in the grand final. For the last time this series, let's introduce tonight's fighters.
First, from Hinkley in season number 6, 23 Red.
The Dual Spinner becomes the first machine to make the top 8 in all 3 of its series runs, and surely 3rd time's the charm for them to finally take home the jackpot.
From Palo Alto, California in season number 16, Duck.
The Foul machine has been riding its luck throughout the series, but they're finally back at the top as they look to avenge the remaining ghosts from the first wars.
From Norwich, Ganymede.
The last pure vert in the running has shown they can dish out the damage throughout the series, but every fight they have had has gone the distance and you have to wonder if they're showing war weariness.
From Glasgow, Hospitaller.
Hosp remained the final play-in winner in the running for the title after taking out international champs in the previous 2 rounds, but they could still do with a breakout flip to take them further.
From the Isle of Wight, Megalodon.
The last of the Retcon crew has been a polar opposite to last year as nothing is yet to stop that drum, which could prove vital in these latter stages.
From Seoul in South Korea in season number 3, Orby Blade.
Oh, Christ alive.
After back-to-back KOs against the 2nd seeds and the most dangerous robot in the field, Orby on my bet for the title providing these old battery woes don't come back.
From Birmingham in season number 12, Quantum.
The Crusher has gone one better than last year's campaign, but with the 3rd seeds around the corner they could be leaving in a body bag.
From Raleigh, North Carolina, Slammo.
After a tense fork-off with Chompy, Slammo has tossed aside the fabled Danby curse, but with a heavier foe and 23 red in their way, the top 4 finish could be a step too far. Let's kick off the grand final with our 6 seeds 23 red, aiming to at last make it past the round of 8 as they take on the breakout star of the bracket so far, Slammo.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride to start things off. We have 23 red and Slammo starting things off in the grand final episode. 23 red for the 3rd series in a row has made it to this stage of the competition. Never further, though. Can they do so this time around? 23 red going into this is probably the favourites, and of course damage immediately there to Slammo. Of course the surprise package maybe at this stage of the competition. They made their way past Thumper, they made it past Chompy when Chompy speared itself into the wall, and now coming up against an elite level robot in 23 red, arguably the favourites coming into this stage. They've got all the pedigree of the past. Good push there from Slammo on 23 red. Pit button activated by Slammo. They mean business. They know what they've got to do to beat 23 red. 23 red at the moment in trouble. Good lift from Slammo. Doesn't get it turned upside down on that occasion. They are still the right way up, and 23 red still have the capability to cause damage whenever they want to Slammo, in my opinion. Slammo lifting and raising those forks, trying to get in underneath once again, and does so there. Gets a good grapple hold on 23 red and gets a good grapple hold on the armour as well. They turn 23 red around. Can they guide them towards the pit of oblivion and the yawning chasm that it is? They're dragging 23 red. They're pinned on them. Almost drive down the pit themselves, but 23 red have been dumped down the pit.
6.
And Slammo have done it. They've made it through. They definitely hit the ground second. Slammo are going to go through to our semi-finals. What a recovery from Slammo. What an upset. The highest seeded robot at the start of the competition is now out of it. 23 red could not cope with the pushing power and the drive power of Slammo. They did cause damage to the wedge at the start, and I thought that might have been an indicator as to what's to come. That was not the case. Slammo were brilliant in their aggressiveness, their control. They got a good lift here, grappling hold on a loose piece of armour on 23 red. Were able to drag them around the arena and push them down the pit of oblivion. Slammo through to the semi-finals.
Once again, 23 red runs into a red and blue wall in the quarterfinals as Slammo gets the right lift to sink the roulette robot and move on to the semi-finals. Now it's the last play-in bot Hospitaler's turn to continue their impressive run against the brawling Ganymede.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for fight number 2 of the night then, and a place against Slammo in the series semi-final is up for grabs here. Hospitaler taking on Ganymede. Of course, Ganymede, the number 24 ranked robot in the bracket. Hospitaler, the 32, still in at this stage, and we'll be hoping maybe to progress a little bit further. They've got a good push here on Ganymede at the start. Ganymede pinned against the arena wall. Can't get away from there. Ganymede then responds in turn. Tries to get that weapon into play. Doesn't have the reach as things stand because the forks at the front of Hospitaler and the wedge is keeping that vertical spinner away from the robot. That's key and critical for Hospitaler's survival in this fight, I think. Good push again by Hospitaler. Not the quickest robot around the arena, but certainly sturdy and resolute. And that was a good attack, though, from Ganymede. And again, trying to shred the lifter. Hospitaler fired the weapon, and it did cause damage because it got caught by the Ganymede disc. Hit burn activated. Initially by Ganymede, but completely by Hospitaler. They destroyed the pit burn, actually, did Ganymede. We will charge you for that. Hospitaler trying to get in underneath, maybe, and turn Ganymede over. It's a very tight and tactical battle at this stage of the competition. You can't really afford any mistakes. Not when that title is within very close grasp. Losing money on here. Ganymede has caused more damage to Hospitaler. Part of that weapon has come away. There'll be points on the board for Ganymede. Hospitaler, good control and aggression, keeping them pinned against the arena wall thus far. Good control as well by Ganymede, staying out of trouble from the weapon, although I do think that's mostly because Hospitaler can't quite get in underneath, and the more manoeuvrable Ganymede is able to kind of zip away when required from the lifter, try to get around the sides, maybe clobber the wheels, I don't know. Hospitaler doing well at cutting off the angles, and Hospitaler just too strong to push back towards the pit there. Good push by Hospitaler up against the rear wall now while they bring that weapon into play. Hospitaler doesn't quite manage it. Good push back here from Ganymede. That weapon at the front of Hospitaler is looking absolutely shredded. Look at it, it's completely split in two. Can Ganymede cause more damage? So far, you'd have to say it's a very even and cagey fight. I wouldn't want to be a judge for this one. Not at this stage of the competition. You have to say Ganymede have caused the damage. They've used their weapon probably slightly more effectively, but it's a bit of a toss-up at the moment between the two as to who will go through to fight Slammo in the semi-finals. We are down to our last 10 seconds. It's not been a thriller in the quarter-final match here between the 32 and the 24, but we're going to go to time and the judges between Ganymede and Hospitaler. It wasn't a thriller, as I said, but we did a semi-finalist. Over to you, the judges. Well, it certainly wasn't a classic, was it? But Ganymede and Hospitaler is a key step on our way to finding our 5th LEGO Wars champion. Hospitaler, I felt, was the better controlled robot throughout the fight, but they couldn't utilise their weapon at all. And as we saw here, the excellent graphics from Ryan's phone in the corner. Ganymede's weapon, however, was impactful, did shred the flipper lifter arm of Hospitaler. Could that be the key damage that sends Ganymede through to our final 4?
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Ganymede. The damage inflicted on Hosp's weapon was the difference in the end, as Ganymede continue their charge to ensure we have an unseeded machine in this year's final. Next up, it's the now favourites for the title Orby heading into the battle against the crushing beak of Quantum.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Well, with 23 red out of the competition at this stage, I would say that these two are the favourites for me to go on and win the whole thing, and that's a good impact there from Orby Blade, shredding the front end of Quantum completely. And of course, Orby Blade have all the experience at this stage of the competition. They've been further than this before. They're the only robot left in, I think, other than Duck, who have been further than this, and that was last series, so they've got recent experience of semi-final placings. Quantum, of course, last year couldn't make it out of the round of 16. In their debut campaign, they've been it one step further this time. Can they go one step further than that, I wonder? Down comes the crushing arm of Quantum. Doesn't get any purchase on Orby Blade, who has stopped in the middle of the arena. Has it happened again? The battery issues we know so prevalent with Orby Blade. It will be a shame for them to go out like this, especially after the start they've made. They shredded the front end of Quantum, but I think it could be... Oh no, it's back again. Is it? I can't quite tell, or is that just a little bit of a death jolt? And is that Quantum going through at this stage? No, Orby Blade is fine once again. Weapon back up to speed. Quantum in underneath Orby Blade. Good tactical fight between the two. Good push there from Quantum, pushing Orby Blade into the arena wall. Orby Blade isn't happy, certainly, and we have seen reliability issues from them in the past. Quantum looking menacing and grabs Orby Blade, the Korean machine, being dragged across the arena. Good control from Quantum here. A place in the semi-finals at stake. Quantum hits the pit button. Beautifully controlled from them thus far. Can they drag Orby Blade maybe towards the pit? They release them. Can't hold on to them for too long. Weapon up to speed point for Orby Blade, but they are actually high-centered. Look, I'm part of the debris that they've caused from destroying the front end of Quantum. More damage to Quantum. Damage as well to the top arm of Orby Blade. The chain protector, the chain now very much exposed, and Quantum with a good bit of driving could snap that chain. Although with a good bit of driving, they could end the fight then and there. They could just push Orby down the pit. They're trying to line them up for it, certainly. Orby Blade can't spin that weapon. They are stuck in the maw of Quantum. Quantum tries to go to the side of Orby Blade. Good push on them. Orby Blade on the lip of the pit. Well, it's been a good run from Orby Blade. I think they're going to fall one step earlier than they did last time around. A quarter-final berth is all they're going to get. They're eliminated. Down the pit. Quantum progress to our semi-finals. What a result from them. It was a bright start initially for the 15th ranked robot in the bracket, Orby Blade, but as the fight wore on, it seemed very clear that the 23 in Quantum was the one in the ascendancy. That impact there clearly upset Orby Blade in some shape or form. Down came the crusher of Quantum a couple of times on top of Orby Blade. Beautiful control was displayed to open the pit initially. They got high centered on Quantum's debris and ended up down the pit.
For once it was the connector wire to the drive battery that decided to call it quits on Orby as they crash out one step earlier than last series, but they have dished out a ton of damage on Quantum, so we'll have to see whether they can get it repaired in time for the semis. We'll let them get on with repairs as we confirm who their opponent will be in the semi-finals as the Lucky Duck faces Megalodon.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Off we go then, our final quarter-final fight then between Megalodon and Duck. Who wins in a fight between a shark and a duck, we will soon find out. These two are our highest bracket ranked robots left in. Would you believe it? At 14 in Duck's case and 11, the highest bracket rank left in is Megalodon, would you believe? Shows the strength in depth and the quality throughout the field in LEGO Wars in Series 5, doesn't it really? Kind of highlights just how good they have been. All the robots this series have been superb, and you know these top, well now 5 I suppose, you have to say are the cream of the crop. Duck going for the pit button, lovely multi-camera work once again. Editor David, I'm very proud of you for learning that feature this series. Megalodon's spinning drum comes into contact with Duck, but Duck pushes Megalodon back towards the pit. Of course, they were runners-up all the way back in Series 1 of LEGO Wars. They're going to try and hope they can maybe improve on that this time around. It's an amazing run they've had, Duck, this series, but maybe a little bit fortunate in the last round to get past Pegasus. They'll be hoping that they can get past Megalodon, but with manoeuvres like that, they may well not. The lid of Duck has been severed slightly and buckled by the Megalodon drum. It is pretty effective, Megalodon, when it gets working, but in this situation here, they're stuck in the corner. They're trying to activate the Jevon strats, but the problem is that fork was getting caught in the pit. And they don't want to get dragged into the pit, and now they've got a wheel stuck over the pit. That's not a good situation to be in either. Duck has put them in that position, and now Duck going in to try and manoeuvre them towards the pit, almost ended up getting sucked into the pit themselves. Megalodon does get away now, though. Good control and driving from Megalodon, only to get stuck on the pit button, and they are caught between a rock and a hard place. The Duck assault at the moment on Megalodon is continuing at pace. They've been able to keep them penned in to that corner behind the pit, and a good portion of the fight from Megalodon has been caught in that corner, and it could cost them should this fight go to time. I think Duck currently on top. Megalodon have work to do. We've seen how good that drum spinner can be throughout this series. Can they get another victim? Well, Duck almost sending it down the pit themselves, doesn't quite go down, gets away now. Good push back on Megalodon once again. Megalodon pushed against the arena wall, gets away into the centre of the arena, but isn't really causing massive damage to Duck that we may have expected from Megalodon. A much improved robot this time around, has to be said. One of Jevon's robots that he's brought to this series. He's done incredibly well to get to the top 8. It's been the best performing Retcon Robotics entry this time around, following in the footsteps of Emulator and Shatterstar of days gone by. Duck and Megalodon, I think, though, are going to go to time, and our judges will have to decide between these two who gets our final semi-final spot. Good match between these two, evenly matched as well. It was a very resolute Duck performance, in my opinion, very quintessential from them. Megalodon never really got involved in the fight, and Duck were able to utilise the arena to their advantage. They pushed Megalodon behind the pit for a vast portion of the fight, which kind of hampered Megalodon's ability to get a good run-up and use that weapon. They did make contact there with Duck and rip its lid slightly up, but not completely. Megalodon did eventually escape, but was it too little too late?
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Duck! The plough of Duck proved to be the ultimate counter to Megalodon's drum, but they have done superbly this time round to keep that weapon together. Nevertheless, we have our final 4 locked in, providing Quantum can get their robot fixed in time, but only 2 can enter the grand finals. Let's see if Ganymede can finally get a KO, or will Slammo continue their fairy tale run.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Off we go then for our semi-finals, and it's Slammo versus Ganymede to kick things off. Who would have thought these two would be vying for a place in our grand final for LEGO Wars Series 5? Both of these two robots are 2 fights away from becoming our 5th LEGO Wars champion, and so far I have to say, on the evidence of this fight, I don't really know who's going to win it because they've barely come into contact with one another, but now Slammo has Ganymede against the arena wall, gets away. Ganymede have done pretty well to get to this stage. They've knocked out some big hitters. Slammo have as well. Slammo immobilised briefly on the middle of the arena. I thought maybe have been knocked out for a second, but they're okay. Good lift there from Slammo. Down goes the pit. Good control from Slammo once again, trying to get around to the sides of Ganymede. It's a lot more agile and quick than Ganymede. The damage sustained there by Slammo, and again big impact from that big vertical spinner. Can Ganymede continue to chop them to bits, because we know Ganymede has that knockout potential, and they push Slammo against the arena wall. Ganymede trying to use that weapon to chop and slice and destroy Slammo. Gets away now though, Slammo, into the safety of the centre of the arena, but it has been compromised. That front end is not as buttery smooth and, you know, happy as it once was, although Slammo trying to get that weapon in underneath the disc. Good control from Ganymede to get away, but that weapon that's now stopped on Ganymede. Is that permanently broken? That's a great lift though from Slammo. Can they try and get Ganymede upside down? They've got good purchase as well. Can they try and maybe guide Ganymede towards the pit? Well, Ganymede is now stopped. Are they having a big thermal cutout issue here, Ganymede? Or have they just simply conked out? Is that the end of the Ganymede glory run? They've done so well to get to this stage, but in the semi-finals, the weapon's back and running, but is the robot okay? That's the question now. Slammo is inching and guiding them slowly but surely towards the pit, and they're being counted out here, Ganymede. They've only got a few seconds left in LEGO War Series 5 at this stage. Ganymede, can you get away in time? No, they can't. It's all over. Slammo is through to the grand final of LEGO Wars. Who would have thought? Ganymede has conked out, and that is that. The end of an amazing run for Ganymede.
6.
Ends in the pit. Ganymede beaten. Slammo through to the grand final. A drive battery failure has been attributed to the defeat of Ganymede in this fight when Slammo was lifting it up at the end, but what an impressive series it's been for Ganymede, making it all the way to our final 4. They came up against a stern opposition though in Slammo, who have taken punishment tonight, haven't they? They've taken a lot of punishment. There was the lift that kind of caused the main issue for Ganymede, and that was all that told for it. Immobilised, beaten, and down the pit for Ganymede.
In the end, all those JDs have come back to haunt Ganymede as their drive battery calls it quits, meaning it's Slammo who will move on to the grand final. Quantum, meanwhile, have got their robot in as good a position possible to take their semi-final berth, but only time will tell if it's enough to beat Duck.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Well, we have one grand finalist in Slammo. Who will join them? Will it be Quantum or will it be Duck? Of course, Quantum recovering after a very, very nasty and destructive fight with Orby Blade. Rumours close to the pit saying they almost had to withdraw. It was so badly damaged, but they managed to get it repaired and back in action. Duck, meanwhile, defeating Megalodon via the judges. They are maybe a bit fortunate to be at this stage, Duck, but they are making the most of their opportunity. Of course, they cheesed their way past, of course, Pegasus, some may say. But at this stage, you'd have to say they've earned their stripes, they've earned their spot in the final 4, and they are looking to make it back to the grand final once again, where they were all the way back in Series 1. Quantum, meanwhile, it's clear they're not very happy, isn't it? Because look at that, they're kind of limping on one side already. And Quantum, I do fear for them in this fight because they have sustained enormous damage from Orby Blade. They've been pinned into the corner, and Duck here is putting on an absolute clinic. They're using the lifting arm to try to pin Quantum in the corner, and they know they're kind of pinned on that one-hand side of drive. They can't really get out of the corner. Duck hits the pit button once, twice, and Quantum is being counted out because they're not getting out of their circumference. Duck comes back in on the attack and pushes Quantum into the corner once again. They can't get away. They've been counted down and out. Duck through to the final. Wasn't really much of a fight in the end, was it, between Quantum and Duck, which is a real shame to see. Of course, Duck in a lot better sort of physical condition than Quantum was. Quantum clearly still suffering the side effects from that fight with Orby Blade. Hopefully they can get that repaired for our playoff shortly. But an absolute textbook performance from Duck. They pushed them into the corner. They knew they couldn't get away, and that was all that told for Quantum. Duck through to the grand final for the second time in their career.
The gremlins from Orby really stunted Quantum in the end as their drive chain snapped, leaving them out for the count, so Duck will return to the grand final just as they did back in the very first series. Before we have said final, Ganymede and Quantum have cobbled themselves back together in time to decide third place, so let's see who will take the bronze in Series 5.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Off we go then for our third and fourth place playoff. Quantum looks somewhat repaired, although their wedge at the front their wedge at the front is losing a fight with the arena, folks. Oh dear, this could be a long one for Quantum. Ganymede comes out on the attack, and there goes the teeth on the crushing arm of Quantum. That could be pivotal to the way they want to compete in this fight. Ganymede's weapon looking a lot more sturdy now. That battery's been reattached and repositioned, and Quantum is looking very sad in the arena already. Quantum, they know they're suffering. They need a little bit of a holiday, I think. They've earned their way to this stage. They've fought some very destructive robots to get to this stage. Of course, they beat Sweepy, of course, in the round of 32. They beat Orby Blade in the round of 8, and Salancer in the round of 16. They've been a very tense judge's decision, but losing out in the end to Duck after not really having enough time to recover post Orby Blade. Ganymede, a battery connection now reattached after their fight with Slammo cost them. But either way, Ganymede will come back next series with a very, very high seeding, won't they? Because, let's face it, they're unseeded this series. They're coming back next year with a top 4 ranking no matter what happens in this fight. So, massive respect to Ganymede, although seem to be struggling to traverse across the arena currently. Quantum still in the fight, surprisingly, I'd say, at this point, because, oh, and what happened there to Ganymede? Something's come flying off. I think it's the weapon has kind of disintegrated itself on its own robot. It's kind of ripped off the front as well. Ganymede has just self-destructed and is shaking itself to pieces, and now Quantum has a good opportunity to try and maybe turn the tide of the fight. Ganymede struggling to traverse across the arena. Ganymede shaking itself to pieces. Quantum has an opportunity now to maybe get through and win this fight to finish on the podium. They would love a little bit of silverware to go on their trophy cabinet down at Robo Challenge. Will Ganymede be able to stop them? That big magenta spinning disc, still capable of causing enormous damage. We've seen that throughout this series. It's been a brilliant run for Ganymede. Quantum, their sophomore season may have not ended in the title that they would have wanted, but it's still been a credible effort from them as well. Coming back from disappointment 12 months ago to get to this stage of the competition, the top 4. Maybe a chance with this fight here to win some silverware as well, to finish in the top 3. It'd be a remarkable story for Quantum. Ganymede, that weapon has been stopped, and still the drive is suffering on Ganymede. Both these two robots very tired after a long, long campaign. I don't think there's going to be a knockout in this fight. They're both very tired robots, although Quantum is lining up Ganymede for a nudge and a shove towards the pit. They've only got a few seconds to do it. Quantum is definitely finishing the stronger of the two. They've got 5 seconds to get a good shove on Ganymede to get them down the pit. They do not get it. We go to time, and the judges will decide who finishes on the podium and who goes home with the Gareth Anstey Award. Well, these two have put on a great show all series long, and it's absolutely to their credit that these two are fighting for such a high placing in LEGO Wars Series 5. Ganymede definitely starting the stronger, as Quantum didn't really know what hit it, but that moment there really did change the fight. Ganymede's weapon sort of self-destructing and ripping off the front panel as well brought Quantum back into the fight, and late on in the fight, a very damaged Quantum was definitely the stronger robot. Tough one to call this.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Quantum. They may not have had any teeth left, but Quantum controlled the pace as Ganymede self-destructed into that dubious 4th place, which means there's only one fight left. It's been the longest series we have ever run, but after 184 fights of action, drama and upsets, we have the original bridesmaid and the once cursed suplexer in our grand final fight. On the left, it's Slammo, the grab and lift bot that for so long has been cursed by its heavyweight counterpart's creator, that finally woke up in the bracket with an outstanding suplex and has continued to usurp the great and the good the series has to offer to now only be one fight away from immortality. On the right, it's Duck, the last seed standing that controlled their heat-sinking former champions Wobber to then go on one of the most bizarre final runs I've ever seen, as they made drunken boxing an art form to return to the summit they last reached back at the very beginning of the series. Honestly, if you had have told me these two would be our grand finalists at the start of the series, I would have laughed you out the door, but they've earned their spot to be here tonight, and there can be only one champion. So let's see who will find their way to win Series 5.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Away we go then for the LEGO Wars Series 5 Grand Final. It is Slammo versus Duck. The 21 versus the 14. Duck here trying to do their best to right the wrongs of LEGO Wars Series 1 and win the title this time around. Duck have had an amazing campaign, getting it all the way to the final. Once again, Slammo have proven their worth 10 times over. That's a good attack from Duck, though. Pushing Slammo against the arena wall. They've been able to get in underneath Slammo as well. Can they lift them up and over? They can't quite get the purchase to lift them. Slammo stands off at the moment. They're using those lifting arms off the floor. Now gets in underneath and try and lift up the arm of Duck. Maybe that's their tactics. They can't quite get in underneath Duck completely. The chassis. Duck face to face with Slammo, now slowed right down, but Duck leave it up by Slammo, doesn't quite get it. Duck slowing right down though. Is there a problem here with Duck? Slammo hits the pit release button. Duck have stopped in the middle of the arena. They don't get it. Oh, they're off and running again there. I thought Duck had immobilised themselves or something. That's a good left though by Slammo. They leave a Duck onto the front of their robot. Good attack from Slammo. They are absolutely getting back into this fight. Slammo now, they started slowly. They're starting to get a bit of a momentum, and they've shown this throughout their bracket run that they can cause a surprise. They can use the lifter in imaginative ways like this to push Duck towards the edge of the pit. On the very rickety edge, Duck, they've fought so well to get to this stage, but can they get away from here? They can just about. They're holding on for dear life, but they're being pushed back again by Slammo. Slammo have Duck right on the rickety edge of the pit. Can they get them down? It's so close. Duck, can they get away from here? It's going to be so difficult to do so. They can't.
6.
They're down the pit. Slammo is your LEGO Wars Series 5 champion. Well, after 192 fights, Slammo is your LEGO Wars Series 5 champion. Duck with a worthy final performance. They tried their best to upset Slammo early on, and they did manage to do so on a couple of occasions, but Slammo proving their worth. Craig Danby, the builder of Slammo for BattleBots, is an Aston Villa Football Club fan, and in this series, the villain has become the hero of LEGO Wars Series 5. Duck, commiserations, you did so well to get to this stage, but there was only going to be one winner, and that winner is Slammo. Congratulations to Slammo!
Congratulations to Slammo as they finally banished the Danby curse to be crowned LEGO Wars Series 5 champions. As we salute our newest champion, I would like to give a massive thanks to everybody who has helped to get this series of LEGO Wars out. It has been a mammoth task to get the longest series we've recorded out there, and it couldn't have been done without each and every one of the crew that helps out with recording, editing, commenting and building. As always, we will have our end of series grudge match special out in a couple of weeks, but to finally close the door on Series 5, I have been your host David of Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.
nice.